Welcome back to this course. So now let's move on to the next section, which is CSS. All right, we want to start working with CSS. All right, and remember I told you that we make use of CSS to style our HTML structure. All right, so we have series of HTML structures that we have displayed here. All right, so if I'm open this on my live server now, let's see how this come out. All right, just one moment. Okay, so we have this here. Sorry, let me take this to the other tab. All right, so we have this here. We have set of HTML that we have created during the course of this training. So the next thing I want to do here is how can we style some of these HTML elements, all right, using some CSS attributes. All right, so how do we do this? Okay, now there are three ways to introduce CSS into your HTML structure. Right, there are three ways to introduce CSS. All right, we have the inline styling, we have the embedded styling, and then we have the external styling. Right, we have the inline style, we have the external, the embedded style, and then we have the external style. So when we are talking of inline style, inline style is what we used when we wanted to style for our image. All right, remember when we did this style equals height and then we passed a value. All right, so now let's assume we want to style this h2. All right, so let's assume we want to style this h2. All right, so this h2 is what, this is what we are targeting here, this second hello world. All right, so this one I want to target here. So let's say we want to give this want to change the text color. All right, so how do we do this? All right, so let's say we want to change the text color of this h2, and we also want to style for this p tag that we have here. All right, we want to increase the font size of this paragraph and also change the text color. So the same way we did this when we were adding the height to our image, that's the same we are going to do here. So inline styling simply means that you are coming to the opening tag of your HTML element, and then you want to introduce an attribute known as style. All right, and then after introducing this attribute known as style, the next thing you want to do now is to pass a property into this attribute. All right, so what property do we want to pass to this attribute now? All right, so here we say we want to change the text color. So here we want to pass a property known as what? Color. All right, so when you type color, you see it in the selection and you choose color. So now what kind of color do we want to give this h2 element? Let's say we want to give it a red color. All right, so you choose red like this. So this style here that you are seeing is an attribute, this color here is a property, and then this red that you are seeing is a value. All right, so if I should come back to my browser now, you see now that hello world now has turned to a red color. All right, so let's style for this paragraph text also. Let's give this a different text color, and let's increase the font size. All right, so to do that now, all you need to do is just to come to the opening p tag, all right, and then introduce your style attribute. All right, and then give it its property. All right, so here we want to give font size. All right, and then pass a value for this font size. So let's say I want to give this 20 pixel. All right, so let's say I want to give it another property, which is color. All right, and then we want to give this a text color of, let's say, yellow, like this. Okay, so when you come back to your browser now and you check, so you can see now that the text color is yellow and the font size. Let's change the text color. This is not visible. Let's give it blue. All right, so you can see now that the font size has increased and then the color has changed to blue. So this is how you do inline styling on HTML. All right. So now the second way of adding a style is using the embedded method. All right. Now all of these different methods are based on specificity. Okay, the inline style has more specificity than the embedded and the external, meaning that the inline style is more rated than these other two, but the external method is the most recommended method. All right, so let's take for instance now. All right, we want to style this same h1. All right, we want to style, this same h2 rather, we want to style this same h2 using the embedded method. All right, so here to use the embedded method, all you have to do is just to come up here in your head section. All right, in the head section, after the title tag or anywhere in the head section at all, you need to introduce a tag known as the style tag. All right, so once you have introduced this tag, the next thing I want to start passing is properties and what value. But before you can be able to pass properties and value, you need to have what we usually call CSS selectors. All right. So what are CSS selectors now? All right. These are selectors that we use to style our HTML elements. All right. And your CSS selector can be all right, a moment. So here we have CSS selectors. Okay, so CSS selectors. All right, so CSS selectors can either be a tag, a class, or an ID. All right, so these are the three ways you can describe your CSS selector. So for now, let us use the tag, all right, to to style our HTML document. All right, so here we come here now, and here we have the tag of h2. So what we just need to do is just to come in here and call out h2 like this, and then open your curly braces bracket and then hit enter. So in here you want to give h2, all right, you want to give h2 a property of color. All right, and the color that I want to give h2 here now is, let's say, I want to give h2 a coral color. All right, so now we have given coral to h2. All right, when you come to your browser now, what happened? You can see that the red color is still showing up here. All right, because of, I told you, remember I told you that the inline style has more power over every other kind of method. So because of we have an inline style here, that is why this is not taking effect. All right, so the moment you remove this style of color from here, all right, the moment we remove this style attribute from here and you go back to your browser and check what happens, you can see now that this has what taking the color of coral. Are we together now? So you can see the area of specificity that I'm talking about. All right, the inline style has more power over the embedded style, and the embedded style has more power over the external style, but the external style is the most recommended way of styling using CSS. All right, so here we have given this h2 now this color. So let's say in a situation whereby we have two kinds of h2 now. All right, so here we have two kinds of h2 now. You see that the two h2 will take the same effect, but let's assume it's only this first one that we want to give this coral color. We want this second one to remain black. All right, it's only this first one that we want to give the color of coral, and we want this second one to remain black. How do we differentiate this? How do we do it in a way that it's not everything that takes the same effect? That is where this comes in. All right, class selector or ID selector. All right, so now how do we introduce class selectors or ID selectors in here? So for you to do that, all we want to do here is this, where we have this second h2, all right, or rather this first h2. Let's give this a class name, all right, of, let's say I want to give this a class name of hello, like this. Now this has a unique, you know, selector or a unique attribute on it, which is known as what, hello, but this does not have. So instead of we calling out the h2 tag directly, because calling out the h2 tag directly simply means that for every element that is saved inside h2 tag, they should take up this property. All right, but in this case now we don't want to give all the elements, all right, in h2 tag. Now instead of giving all the elements in h2 tag, we need to just target the ones having the class name of what, hello. All right, so how do you now call out this selector now on css? Now to call out a class selector on css, you need to make use of the dots first. All right, we make use of dots whenever you want to call out a class selector. So here we are now going to say dot and then followed by the name of the class that we are giving here, which is what, hello. When you do dot hello now, all right, you will now notice that when you go back to your browser now, what happens, you see now that the first one is still taking the same property, but the second one has gone back to what, black. All right, so now this is where this, I believe you are beginning to understand the how the css selector works. All right, so in the same vein, if it is an id that you are using instead of a class, all right, so let's say we want to make use of an id. So here we give this an id, all right, so let's say we want to give this an id of what, world, like this. All right, so if it's an id that you want to style, all you just need to do is just to come here and then say hash. All right, because remember I told you that whenever you are calling out an id, you start with what, hash. All right, then followed by the id name. So here you just say hash world, like this, and then here we can give this a color of blue, like this. So when you check your browser now, you can see that this is having its own color and this is also having its own color. So this is how you do your embedded styling. All right, so furthermore, let's look at the final or the last method of doing your css styling. All right, that that is the external css, the external method. Now that this is the most recommended way of styling using css, and this require you to create a separate file for your css, all right, so that you don't have your css code inside your html document. All right, so taking out your css code from your html document is just going to polish your code and make it look neat and readable. So how do we do that? The first thing you want to do is to create a folder where you're going to be saving all of your css styles. All right, so you come to where you have new folder and you want to name that folder css, like this. All right, so we have created a new folder called what, css. So this folder now, inside this folder I want to create a new file. All right, so here we are going to say new file, and then we want to create a new file known as what, style.what css, like this. All right, so now we have our external css file what in here. All right, so the next thing we want to do here now is let us start from and style the same with the same value that we have given here. All right, we want to give them now, different values now. All right, the same property but different values. So here we have dot hello, like this. Let's give dot hello a color of let's say dodger blue. All right, and then for hash world, let's give this a color of, let's say, green. All right, so when you do this now and you check your browser, you see that what, nothing has changed, nothing has happened, because remember now that this one is supposed to change to green while this is supposed to change to dodger blue, but it's not taking effect yet. And why is this so? This is because whenever you are using the external CSS, you need to link that external CSS to your HTML document. So how do you do the linking? All you need to do is just to come back in here, and then in your index.html, anywhere in your edge section at all right, just come down there and then call out the link tag like this. All right, so the link tag comes with two attributes, which is rel, which means relative to what, style sheet. All right, so meaning that this is exactly a style sheet. So href means that where are we getting the style sheet from? So you're going to, as usual, you start with your forward slash, go to the root of your project, and then go into the folder that's holding your CSS, and then get the file, which is what, style.css, in here like this. All right, so with this, when you come back here now, you still notice that you see that this has not still changed even after you have linked. Why? Because if you remember when I was talking about order of specificity, all right, no, I told you that the embedded style has more power over the external style. So because of this styling that we have here, this the one that we have done here cannot take effect, because what we have done here is powerful than what is here. All right, so in order for us to be able to get this now, all you just need to do is just to get rid of what we have here like this. All right, so I can comment this out by doing a control forward slash. All right, by doing a control forward slash, when I comment that out and I go back to my browser now, you notice now that this has taken effect. All right, so this has taken Dodger blue and this has taken the green color. So these are the different ways that you can introduce CSS into your HTML document. So for anyhow you want to do it, just know that the order of specificity is going to come into play. The inline style is higher than every other kind of style, followed by the embedded style and then the external style. But the external style is the most recommended way of what, adding CSS into your project. All right, so in the next video we are going to be looking at more CSS what properties and how to work with CSS.